Hi, Josh Sanders here. So we have the Apple Quarter 4 2018 financial data here. We just had the heard the investor call. Let's look at these numbers and see what they tell us. So, of course, should not be a surprise to anyone. The iPhone is still number one overall. It makes up the vast majority of Apple's business. But now here's an interesting thing, and this is the column I always like to really take a look at because this tells you the story is the year-over-year change. Now, iPhone is a very interesting story and potentially a troubling story for everyone involved. Unit sales, zero. No growth whatsoever. No decline, no increase. 0% unit growth sales, which is making investors nervous. Made a lot of people on the call apparently nervous about this. Despite no growth whatsoever, we saw 29, that's a double digit, 29% growth in revenue. Now, what could account for that? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. The high selling price of the iPhone 10 line, the iPhone, and now this ended late September, so this includes the sales of the iPhone 10s and 10s Max. It could be possible that the iPhone 10R, which was just released the other day, could account for this low unit sale number. But this is a pattern we've been seeing for a few quarters now. So it's a bit concerning. Even more concerning is iPad. We look here, 6% decrease in unit sales year over year. Revenue's down 15%. So if you're trying to say, oh, well, more people are buying the $329 iPad, well, I think that's accounted for here because the unit sale decrease isn't nearly as much as the revenue decrease. So I imagine there's probably a lot of people who are buying those more expensive iPads who now buy the cheaper iPad, but that unit decline is still a 6% decline. So let's look at the chart here. We have iPad Quarter 4 unit sales and revenues both in this chart, all the way from 2012 to 2018. So this is a big chunk of the iPad's life right here. And you're going to notice a very clear pattern, decline in both revenues and unit sales. So I don't really think you can say that, oh, well, it's just it's a 1 quarter hiccup. A lot of people will say, okay, well, the new iPad Pro is going to be released in what's going to be Quarter 1 2019, and we'll definitely look at those numbers then. But let's put a pin in that because there's a little hitch in the giddy up there. But if you look, look, there is very clearly a decline here. So what can we draw from this information? Well, for one thing, Apple has been putting a lot of resources into the iPad, and I think it's time for Apple to admit that the Tim Cook vision of the iPad as being the computer of the future just isn't panning out. Now we'll take another look in Quarter 1 2019. Let's see how that's still looking. We might have a very strong Christmas season. That new iPad Pro looks fantastic, but overall, people just aren't buying a ton of these, and they're actually buying less over time. I think what happens for a lot of people is iPads last a long time. They are pretty well built, and they don't take the abuse of an iPhone. But also, the iPad. Most people I know agree the iPad is the least important device in their device lineup. First importance is usually the smartphone, then the desktop or laptop computer. The iPad is simply a luxury. Also, the iPad isn't as versatile as a Mac or an iPhone. So yeah, I don't think this is the future here. I don't think Apple's put all its chips here, and I think Apple's putting those chips in the wrong place. Now we look at the Mac, we see a similar story to the iPhone there. You see actually unit sales here are declining. Revenue is increased, but not a whole lot. So what Apple has been doing, and they've done this with both the iPhone and the Mac, to a lesser degree now the iPad. Actually, if anything, iPad prices have come down with that $329 model. But iPhone prices have gone up with the iPhone 10. Mac prices have steadily gone up quite substantially. And now you're seeing both products hitting a wall. And now we have the Mac actually declining in unit sales, even though revenue is increasing. Now, Apple doesn't really have a lot of room here to raise prices anymore. So they have effectively hit a wall with the Mac. And I think they've also hit a wall with the iPhone. They may be able to juice revenue a bit by raising prices again, but I really think they've hit a wall here. And they've hit their saturated market, which is why they're increasing those prices. They're simply put, there aren't many more people they can sell iPhones and Macs to. So their only choice is to keep increasing the prices and keep increasing that average selling price. I don't think they can keep doing that. I think they've hit a wall. Now, if you look down here, now here are two very bright spots for Apple, and we can talk about this a little bit. Services up double digits year over year, 17%. Services, things like Apple Music, iCloud storage space, also third-party apps who sell their subscriptions through in-app purchases in the App Store. Expect to see more services. Expect more things that are going to take up iCloud storage space, larger photo sizes, bigger iMessages. Also, definitely expect that Apple TV service. Expect that to cost money. Do not expect a free service like some people have speculated. No, Apple is going to charge for this. They're doing everything they can. Luca Maestri said that their goal was to double their 2016 services revenue by 2020, and he said they're well on target for that. And guess what? They're not giving you any service for free. Don't expect free photo storage. Don't expect an increase to that 5 free gigabytes of iCloud storage. No, if anything, they're going to take away free iCloud storage. This is Apple's best hope for growth right now, so expect them to take full advantage of it. The other thing to look at too is the other products. Now, other products include things like, most notably, the Apple Watch. This is probably what this huge 31% year-over-year growth represents. Apple Watch Series 4 sales, which I'm sure are doing very well, but we don't know because Apple doesn't talk about those. Also, things like Apple TV, Beats headphones, AirPods, and especially dongles. So expect more accessories, expect more dongles, expect more headphones. I would say, if I were a betting man, I would say the AirPower charging mat is still on the way. If they can ever get past the engineering challenges, there are going to be more accessories, more cables, more just dongles, more you name it. Apple is going to sell you more and more things. Expect more generic ports that require a lot of adapters. Apple may even sell some sort of hub in the future for USB-C and Thunderbolt 3. Whatever they do to increase this, because this is a strong place where they can keep growing. The other thing we can read from all of this is that Apple has got to enter some new markets. So things like AR or VR headsets, very likely. And, the rumor mill has been talking about Project Titan, their car project. I would expect a lot more investment into Project Titan. I think Apple at this point, if they want to keep Wall Street happy, if they want to keep up this double-digit growth that never seems to end, they've got to release a car. I don't see any other market they could enter right now, other than maybe defense or something weird like that, but something that's a natural market for Apple to enter, other than automotive. Automotive is their best bet, I think, for continued stratospheric growth. Now, one last really interesting thing is that this is the last quarter we'll be seeing unit sales. Luca Maestri said during the Q4 call that starting in Q1 2019, they're not going to tell you what the unit sales are anymore. So you're just going to have to guess. So chances are that means Apple thinks that they truly have saturated the market in terms of how many units they can sell. So if you're an investor, I think Apple is going to be fine. They have some challenges ahead. This might actually be a really good time to buy because the stock's a little down right now. If you're a customer, though, I've got some bad news. iPhones are going to get more expensive. Macs are going to get more expensive. Or at the very least, they're not going to get cheaper. Now, Apple may, like I said, Apple may have hit a wall here because with this slowing unit growth, there's only so much they can do. Also, growing trade war with China, these tariffs, everything else, it's going to make it so that Apple might actually have to cut into their margins just to keep the prices the same, or they may have to raise them slightly just to keep the same margins that they have now. So Apple has a lot of challenges here. Going forward for the iPad, I'm not quite sure what Apple is going to do here. I don't think Apple's going to shift away from iPad. I think that's exactly what they should do because I think the market is speaking very clearly that the iPad is not the computer to replace the desktop, but Tim Cook doesn't seem interested in that. Tim Cook thinks he has a vision, so I think he's going to keep going with that. So that's it for Apple's Q4. Overall, they're doing well, but they're definitely hitting some challenges. They're definitely hitting some walls on how many iPhones and Macs they can sell, how much they can charge for them. Interesting times ahead. So long story short, yes, I think a car is coming probably sooner than later because how else can Apple expand? Anyway, if you like this video, give it a like. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. We have a lot of interesting content on the way. And do you agree with me about Apple's situation? Do you think they're going to get in the car business? Give me a comment and let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. God bless.